Putting down the donut is hard. But listening to the Morning Inspiration is easy. Yeah! Let's return to your Morning Inspiration on WTIS AM 1110, your inspiration station.
Get up in the morning,
I'm Deborah Ray. You're listening to Morning Inspiration right here on Inspiration AM 1110 WTIS. Here in the Tampa Bay area, we are blessed to have one of the leaders in the nation in hospice. But have you heard about a recently published study? In fact, it was published online just a few short days ago in the Lancet Oncology that talked about research out of Canada, Canadian researchers finding that terminally ill patients reported a higher quality of life. And after all, that's what it's all about, dying well, and a greater will to live after participating in dignity therapy. Well, what is dignity therapy, and how would you put that into action? What's the action step here in the Tampa Bay area? Well, we're delighted and honored to have someone who represents an organization that does just that because, the article says it best. Everybody's story is profound because it's genuinely theirs. And, of course, that is one of the many things that she and her husband offer at Von Henry Productions. Yvonne Charneski joining us today. Yvonne, hello and welcome.
Well, hello, Deborah, and thank you for having me on today.
Well, tell us, when we talk about dignity therapy, what exactly does that mean, Yvonne?
Well, dignity therapy offers a end-of-life patient the opportunity to sum up their life and in an interview form. Prescribed questions. There are usually a standard set of questions, about 12, and it really covers the historical perspective and the spiritual, and what do you want to leave behind, what do you want your family to know when you're gone, although they aren't quite directly. And it just gives that patient the opportunity to reflect on their life. And as you know, stories are very healing. No matter what we're talking about, we're telling our story. It seems like a really appropriate time at the end of life to do that, but truly I think we should be reflecting on that at least every 10 years of our life, asking ourselves those questions. What do we want to do in the next 10 years?
Absolutely. And one of the things that really struck me about this article, it wasn't all about, the perfect experience, la la land. In fact, one man who I guess had battled a lifelong history of alcoholism, estranged from most of his family, wanted his grandchildren to know who he was so they could choose a different path. So I suspect it's healing on both sides of the family tree here, Yvonne.
Yes, I agree, Deborah, and it just gives the opportunity for that dying patient to say what's in their heart. Many times families do not communicate clearly about what they feel. The culture doesn't always support that, and it's their opportunity. It's such a valuable resource, and many hospices all over the world use it.
It always amazes me that for all of the education and brilliance and technology and advancement in medicine, this isn't something that medicine really does well, Yvonne.
Well, we have to give them a little bit of credit. They aren't really trained, although that is changing, as you know. That bedside manner needs to be maybe a little bit, updated, but it is changing, and dying is it's not easy, but it's not hard if you approach it, I think, the right way. You can learn so much from each person's life. It becomes a generational experience. You're passing your learning on down to the next generation coming up, and it creates a permanent record, if you will, that doesn't go away, and everybody likes that. We tend to use it with video as opposed to the written word, and dignity therapy is, in fact, more of a written process than a video process.
But I can imagine most families would say, I want the best of everything. I want both the the audio, the written, as well as the video to be able to capture that loved one. I can imagine that means something to families, Yvonne.
Well, we found that to be true, and we did a Your Life, Your Story with a woman named Dorothy, who is in her almost like maybe 97 this year. She's very active. She loved being able to share her history, which started in 1914. In Montana, and put that down so that her cousins, who she has very little contact with at this point in her life, would know who she was when she was gone.
And just recently, my husband had some cousins literally show up that he had not met from, he doesn't even remember if he ever met them. And of course, now they're grown, he in his 70s and they in their 60s. And, they try to pick each other's brains. And I can just imagine what these Your Life, Your Stories can mean in that situations, because literally now they have history lost forever because Grandma and Grandpa aren't there any longer, Yvonne.
Yes, I understand that. Hank's family he is third generation Polish American, and his grandmother and grandfather spoke Polish. All those stories are gone, and they died when he was young, but they just aren't passed down the way they used to be. Used to be families lived very close, and you heard the stories over and over. Well, now families are spread out across the United States and beyond, and it just makes it really difficult to get those stories passed along.
And if you take a look, particularly here in Florida, where we tend to skew a little older, Yvonne, we have so many seniors living apart from their families these days.
Yes, that's unfortunate, but, even if you buy yourself one of these little flip camcorders and turn it on and just start talking and find some questions. If you are, and I have a list of the questions. If anybody wants them, I'll be glad to forward them along. But really, just start addressing those questions and putting it down on videotape, or buy a tape recorder and put that down, or even just start writing. Journaling is a really, really easy way for people to start telling their story. And, there's no critic in there except, your own.
Exactly. So if people want to take advantage of Your Life, Your Story, I'm just thinking, because now my mother has great-grandchildren, and, maybe they won't hear, the great stories of when she was growing up, and, when she fell in the pig pen in the dairy farm up in the hills outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So how does this work? How do you work with people to capture Your Life, Your Story, Yvonne?
Well, it's about we set up 2 interviews, but before that, we sit down and outline a general idea of what we want to talk about and cover. And then we gather photographs and memorabilia and scan those in so that we have some reference material. So it's not just someone sitting there and talking for, an hour. And then we schedule usually about 2 sessions, and I sit there and ask questions. And there are usually no surprises, but if somebody starts talking about something that isn't on the list, we go with it, because it's, memories come up in all kinds of ways. And then we spend some time editing it, and it can be a lengthy process for us. It can be up to 100 hours, but we love doing it, and it's one of those things that I get as much out of it as the person telling the story.
Well, here in the Tampa Bay area, I recently learned that we have the largest concentration of World War II veterans, and of course, they're passing at just a sobering rate these days. So we have really a treasure trove of stories and information and history here in the Tampa Bay area that may be lost forever. So how do people find out more about what you and Hank do at Von Henry Productions with Your Life, Your Story, Yvonne?
Well, you can go to our website, which is vonhenry.com, and click on the link that says oral history. You'll find a list of options that you can choose, like we can just do a slideshow, we narrate it. We call that talking pictures, and then, of course, your life, your story. And then it's nice to do family reunions, too. It's a nice time for stories to come up. But there's also a video, the one we made with Dorothy, and look at that, and it tells you a lot of information that helps you understand how the process comes together. And, you know, the stories are so wonderful, and definitely it's not therapy, but it is therapeutic, and that we always keep that in mind, that we're going to hear things that people want people to know about them after they're gone. We never really address that directly at the stage of a person's life when we're working with them, but we definitely want them to know and keep it in mind that people are going to, you know, look at this later on down the line. Share everything you can from your heart.
Well, you all do so much more with social media and helping businesses to publicize themselves and real estate and more. YvonneHenry.com. For people not on the web, do you have a phone number, Yvonne?
Surely. It's 727-535-5425. Or if someone wants to just email me, they can, info@VonneHenry.com. And do send me an email if you want a copy of those questions, if you want to start your own journaling project, or, you know, I'd be glad to teach somebody how to turn on their little flip camcorder, which are better now than 10 years ago on TV, if you know. I mean, that's just amazing to me.
Yvonne, thank you so much for joining us today, talking about sharing a life story. More right here on Morning Inspiration on Inspiration AM 1110 WTIS.
With SRN News, I'm Jeremy House in Washington. House Speaker John Boehner may unveil his own debt ceiling legislation when he meets with his chamber's Republicans today. But Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid says